G'day, welcome back. I'd especially like to welcome my new subscribers, and I hope you enjoy the content of my channel. If you missed part 6 of my Webster engine build, there's a link up there now. You can go watch that first, then come back and watch this one. Alright, so let's head over to the bench and we'll have a look at what I can do while I'm waiting for that gear to get here, because until that does get here I can't quite finish what I started last week. So let's go wander over there. Alrighty, so I was lying in bed last night thinking about what can I do while I'm waiting for that gear, and it suddenly occurred to me I haven't made that hone yet, so I can hone this out. Plus I've got to knock that hole in the side out properly. So I think what I'll do first up is I'll get in and I'll make this hone up. It's not something I've ever done before, so I might actually, before I do that, I'll go in and watch a couple other videos. Mark Presley apparently did one on making one of these a while back, so I want to go and watch that first and then do something about trying to make one up. Alrighty, so I've set this back up in the lathe before and drilled an 8mm hole down the inside of it. Now I have to drill a little, this is a 1/8 drill, hole all the way down beside that, and then it has to be slit all the way across from there here into that slot there. Now later in this build I'm going to need a big long drill so I can get down the side of the flywheel to pin the flywheel to the drive shaft. And I was hunting around, I was having a lot of trouble finding long series drills, and then I came across this one on a supplier from up north. That's an Australian made Sutton drill. They make shit hot tools. That's going to come in handy now. Before then, anyway, let's turn this light on and do something about drilling a hole in this. I don't want to break this drill, it was bloody expensive. An Australian made drill. Chinese crap. Bloody take a while. I'm not so great at aluminium this is, but it's pretty crappy stuff. It doesn't turn very well. And it doesn't look being drilled either, by the looks of it. I don't know whether you saw that, the drill just slipped in this collet a minute ago. It's probably not a bad thing because it would have stopped it snapping off. Because this was delivered about 300 bucks. It's pretty expensive for a drill. 1/8 drill. I've got this sitting hard down on the base of the thing here. Before I get all the way through it, I'm going to have to stop with the drill in it and pull it up the drill a little bit and then pop it through the back. There's about 6mm to go now. Alright, I fully expect that hole has come out a little bit cockeyed on the bottom because of the way this bloody thing is at the moment. Oh, that's not too bad. Alright, so now I'm going to get this, make something up, spacer up to the same length as this, so I can set this up in here over this edge here. Not be like that. Well, it's the same length as that, so this jaw, this is what I was talking about in the saw modification video, that can pivot. So what I'm going to do is make up a bolt that long that I can adjust, put it in here so it closes square. Come back to you. Alrighty, so that's just a coupling nut and a cap head screwed into it till it's the same length as that. Holds them apart perfectly. And I just use the drill to line all this up across there and do something about slitting it. It's a 1mm slitting saw, this thing. It's all the way through there. Something that that's really cockeyed, that cut. It's going up like that. Well, it doesn't matter, I don't think. But anyway, there's something else I should have done before I slit it maybe, and that is I have to put 2 little jacking screws in here so you can squeeze it out. But I can do that afterwards, but that's really hot now, so I'm just going to leave that for a while, and I'll come back and then put these 2 jacking screws in here. Alrighty, so I've got this all set it up. I'll show you when I take this back out of here just how crooked that cut is. And it's all due to this spindle not being concentric to the tower. And I've really got to have to do something about it because that outcome was ridiculous. Alrighty, so they'll get a couple of M4 grub screws in them to squeeze this apart. That's managed to squeeze up already after I clamped it up in there. But check this out, from that to that. That's just bloody ludicrous, that is. So I really need to do something about that. And I hope that is actually broken all the way through there. It looked like it was when I before it closed up. Anyway, I'll get a couple of jacking screws in there and push that apart and have another look at it. Alrighty, so it's got 2 screws in there and I've opened it back up. It fits in there reasonably well now. So I've got to make up 2 end pieces to retain this onto a shaft. Piece of this 5/16 S45C that I bought just to fit it up with. One of the end, has to be an end cap with a pin in it that'll sit in this hole here, so that this can't rotate on there. Another one here just to retain it in place, but I'll make them up and we'll do something about trying to use it. Alrighty, so I've got this thing all set up on here. This floats on that shaft and there is a pin just here that goes into that long hole that runs up the side. Alright, now I did notice in Mark Presling's video that he was using oil-based paste, but this is a water-based paste. I've got 2 of them. I'm not 100% certain what's going on here because you got W50 and W14, so I'm not sure. And then you got this number 350 and number 1500. Now I'm assuming that equates to maybe sandpaper grit or something, so I don't really know. Anyway, well, I'll have a look. I'm going to assume that this 350 is, like I said, should we cut the end off that, have we? Ooh, no, there it is. Spread a bit of that out on there. I've got a squirt bottle there. I can squirt a bit of water on this as well. So there we go. It feels pretty fine, that. Anyway, we'll give it a go with this one first. Just slow it down to a couple hundred RPM. More of this paste on there. Like I said, I've never done this before, so I don't really bloody know what I'm doing. A little bit of that on there. Now these 2 rings are machined smaller than that thing was, so I really am hoping that they don't rub inside. Bugger. Oh shit. Alright, I'll get that off there, I'll come back to you. Alright, so it wasn't too hard to get that off there, I just tapped it off using the plastic hammer. Now, I did run that some more, and I don't know if you can see that, but that's not polishing it, it's putting, like you'd expect to see hone marks in a cylinder in a normal engine. So I've gone to this 1500, we'll see what that does to it. We'll whack a bit of moisture on that. So you might need to open that up a bit. So look, see what that looks like. Well, let's just continue to put that crosshatch pattern in there, so I don't know I want to continue doing that for too much longer. There are some marks in there that I'd like to get gone, out of there. You can see, I can see those lines in it. It'd be nice to get rid of them. But so I think I'll just work on it a bit longer and bring you back. And I think what I'll do when I'm done is hit it with the Scotch-Brite again, because that seems to polish it up really well. Alrighty, so I've polished it up with some 350 and got rid of nearly all those marks. And now I've got some about 1500 on there to try and get a better finish in there, because it's still got these crosshatch marks in it, which I don't really want. It's definitely not polishing it, so I think I'll have a go at it with the Scotch-Brite and see if we can't get it better. Alright, so I made up a new one of these. Just got a bit of that 516, slit it with the angle grinder so I can wrap it, you know, insert some Scotch-Brite in to wrap it around it. And I gave this quite a polish with it, and it has brought it up a lot better, but I think it could be better yet. So I think I'll just keep. Might give a bit of a hit with that little timber hone of mine with some of the finest wet and dry I've got on it, and some WD-40, and then hit it again with the Scotch-Brite, and I reckon I might get what I'm looking for. Alrighty, so doing what I said I'd do with this, cleaned it up to a point where I think I can probably live with it. Looks fairly shiny in there. I think we can live with that. Alrighty, so again we've got to make these bits at some stage, so might as well do them now while I'm sitting around doing nothing else. Make the oiler for the cylinder. So that's the side there. Remember I said when I drilled that hole, I said I thought I just nicked it. Well, I did anyway. So with that at 90 degrees, there's an oiler to go in the top up here, which is this thing here. And once again, I've got a drawing which sort of only tells half the bloody story. There's nowhere in here that tells you how long this thing is. So there's a bit of guessing going on, because this drawing here is something completely different. That's the inlet for, well, it's an adapter for the inlet port. So I'll try and make this thing. I'll make a couple of things up as I go, I suppose. Anyway, this is the bit of 3/4 I bought to make piston for the steam engine, and turned out to be just a bit on the small side. It's not running very true. It's supposed to be 3/4 round, this thing. It does tell you that much. So I'll clean this up the bare minimum just to get it round. I'll do all the work that's required on the front here, which is turn all this down and put a 5mm thread on it. And then once I've done all that, I'll part it off and put the collar chuck back on, I think, because I'll need that to make the other oilers. But anyway, let's do this. Alright, so now I've got to turn this section here down to 8mm and go in 10mm. Quick sanity check. There's nothing important about this dimension, so 11mm, so another millimetre to come off. If I'm not mistaken, it should be 6mm or thereabouts. 6.1. Alrighty, fortunately this button die is one that has, you know, a good taper lead in there and nothing on the back end, which allows me to get, you know, pretty much right up to a bloody shoulder. Right, just going to have a 1.5mm hole put in there. I reckon that ought to be far enough. This collar chuck will only just close down on a 1.5, and that's all. I saw this thing being advertised the other week, and I was looking for something else. tiny collar chuck, so I bought the bloody thing for hopefully using on tiny little things that I might have trouble gripping. Nice little collar chuck. Right, like I said, the drawing doesn't tell you how long this is supposed to be. So I'm going to take a punt on it being sort of square, so to speak, as long as it is round. So about, oh shit, I haven't left, not much. 15, oh yes, no, 3/4. 15. Well, it says the inside here is bored out to 5/8 half-inch deep, so I think 15 mil or thereabouts will probably be okay. That'll do. See if we can get this off without a tit. Make sure everything's tight. Rightio. Almost. Not much of a tit on that. I think I've mentioned this in the past. In the factory, when we were in the CNCs, we used to run them at 3,000 RPM and just everything got done at 3,000 RPM, including parting off. And we used specially ground parting tip with a 15-degree angle on it, so everything came off without a tip. Like I've said it before, you can't be taking the tips off millions of brass fittings. Alright, so I'll get that collar chuck fitted up. I'll get this thing back in that way, and everything needs to be done in this end. Alrighty, so let's do this. That's a worry. I could have done with a 19mm collet. That's a 20mm one that just, it's pretty much tightened all the way down. I might have to wrap something around that to make it grip a bit better, but aluminium can or something. Come back. Alright, let's see how that goes. It felt a lot better when I tightened it up this time. I cut plenty oversized. Well, I machined it out to 16mm thereabouts. Well, we're already at 16. I've got to try and get a bit deeper. I was only at 11.7 there. Maybe another millimetre in there, I think. Alrighty, so I got to 12.7 without breaking that boring bar. That's a good thing. Now I've got to drill a 2.5mm hole in there and tap an M3 thread in it. You can actually see that 1.5mm hole that I drilled through from the other side, so a bit more than that. Alrighty, so I'll have to get down the road and buy a 3mm bolt to put in here because I don't actually have one. And it has to have a really fine taper machined on the end of it and a hole drilled down through the centre and then a hole in the side, which I'm not looking forward to doing. I found a spring out of a pen that I can use in there. So that's sort of what it'll look like when it's done. The chamfernier and we'll be finished with that. Right, so that's that done. A little piece out of the way. Alrighty, so I'll set this up and drill a hole in there for this thing. It doesn't protrude through there. I had to shorten it up a little bit. Oh god, I was just screwed it in by hand, now I can't get it out again. Anyway, I need to make up a couple of smaller ones. Now I think the drawing says to use a bit of 3/8. These are the ones I made for the steam engine. They're only out at 5/16. I've still got a fair bit of that. And I don't have a bit of 3/8. I do have this short piece of 5/8. I think I want to turn that down and make them. So I think I'll just make some small ones like this out of 5/16. I think that'll do. Alrighty, so while you guys weren't looking, I made up a couple of these. A bit boring, that, not much to see doing that. And this gear showed up. So I'm getting a bit paranoid now. There's no marking on there as to what it's supposed to be. So I got the felt pen out and counted the number of teeth on it, and it's definitely 19. So I've re-blued this up, redrew that line. So these are what I think to mark where I've got to drill that hole. I'll just put that in there and give it a bit of a rub across there. It'll give me where it's got to go. Now I do think that I might try and clamp this in place somehow and run that down through there so I know I've got it in the right place. But what I will do, I think, is get a piece of paper and put it between these two gears, put a couple of cable ties around it, I think, to pull them together, and then clamp this here so it can't move. And I might use the cordless drill or something just to try and mark that where it's got to be. But anyway, and then I've got to get this back in the lathe and turn it down so that I can press it back into here. Anyway, so now we can get on with this. Alrighty, just a quickie. Before I get on with machining that gear down and drilling holes and things in here, I wanted to finish this off. So I've just made up this shaft here. Now because I stuffed up and put an M4 thread in there instead of an M3, I had to make something a little different. So I've machined this up to fit that. A little brass spacer to go on the end. Another one of my little CE clips, whatever they bloody are. Cut in there once again with the Roger Ruff hacksaw method. And there we go. Good old bloody Uncle Bobby, really. Beauty. Wee ripper. Alrighty, so I'll get on with... Oh, no, before we go, I had a thought here while I was lying in bed the other night. I broke a bloody bandsaw blade a couple of weeks ago while I was doing something. And it suddenly occurred to me that I might be able to make the spring fronter here out of a piece of this bandsaw blade. So I'll have a crack at it. I don't know if it'll work or not, but, you know, where there's a will, there's a way. Alrighty, so that's not the first time that I've ever done that. I find it a good way to mesh two gears together so that you can, you know, if you know one point, it's easy to just mark off the second point. So I've actually been in there and just centered it with this. So I'll get all that off there now and get it in the mill or the drill press, probably the drill press actually, and just drill that through 6mm for a pin. Well, I think that's pressed home. I didn't bother videoing the machining because I showed you that earlier on in another episode. Alright, we'll put all this together and see how it looks. At this point in the video, I'd like to thank my patrons. This continued support is greatly appreciated. If you'd like to become a patron, there's a link down in the description. You can sign up there and drop me a couple of dollars every month. If you don't want to be a regular contributor, there's always buy me a coffee. Now, let's get back to the build. Alrighty, so there's definitely some fine tuning to be done here. This pin that I made up, I'm going to have to modify that and make it so that it can move over that way at least another millimetre, so that this gear can come back over this way a bit more. I've got that sitting on an end mill there at the moment, but everything looks pretty groovy. And it's not pinned to this yet, so I won't spin the crankshaft. But outside of that, it's all looking pretty good. It's working out pretty damn well. Alrighty. So I'll get all those things done and then we'll come back and have another look at it. Alrighty, so while you guys weren't looking, I've been a busy little bee. I've shortened this pin up so that moves back into where it needs to be. I trimmed up a piece of that bandsaw blade. I was kind of surprised how easily it bent, but it'll do the job. I've made up a pin for here, and once again I've put a groove in it so that I can get a circlip in there. I'm going to knock it into there now. I'm hoping it doesn't take too much to knock it in. That's going to take a bit more putting in there than I was expecting, so I'll go and squeeze it in the vise and I'll come back to you. Well, that was a bit tighter fitting there than I thought it would be, but that's all working the way it should now. Right, something else I made up was a spacer for here. So get this bit back on. Oh, you dirty rotten bastard. Well, I can't believe this. I dropped that on the floor, and this floor sees tile. Things drop on the floor and they bounce, and they just, you never to be seen again. So I'll find that and I'll come back to you. I'll have to call my daughter out and get her keen young eyes to have a look for me. I forgot to mention that bit of bandsaw blade. I put a 4mm hole through that with a carbide end mill, no worries at all. Alright, so all that's in there now. There's hardly any end float in the end of that. Gears are meshing well. The valve opening arm is working the way it should. And all is well in the world. I've still got to drill and tap these holes in here. Actually, I don't know that. If I would have made the bigger 3/8 ones, that they would have cleared that in there. Probably just as well I didn't. Anyway, so I still got to, like I said, drill and tap them, but I didn't want to do those till I had all this fitted up, and I knew that these two bushes I got pushed in here because like this one's about poking out just a tiny bit that side, so it's got something, the flywheel's got something to run against, and a bit this side for the points cam to run on. And this side it's sticking out, it's like just probably 1 or 200ths of a millimetre, so that this has got something to run up against. What's that hidden? What the hell is that hidden? Oh, Jesus. I'll have to do something about that. It's just that pin I put in there is just sticking out just a tiniest little bit. I'll have to get in there and knock the top off that. I've still got to drill a hole in this pin yet, so that when I make the greaser up for there, the grease can come out and into this bush here. So that's but that's going to have to wait till next week, because I think we've run out of time this week. If you've been enjoying watching me make this, then make sure you give it a great big thumbs up and smash that like button, because you know it kind of helps me out. But anyway, like I said, that's about it. There's still it's getting close now, but it's still plenty to do. I've got to make the exhaust for it. I've got to make the inlet for here. I've got to fit those two up in there. I've got to make the cam for the points. I've got to make the fuel tank. And also I've got to do, I've got to lap these valves yet. I haven't lapped them in yet, so they have to be lapped. And that's about it. There's not a lot left to do. So join me next week, and we'll continue on with this and see where we get to.